2019 openers open. Here's my entry. All right, well, I ain't gonna kid you. This has been a lot harder than I thought it was gonna be. I have tried multiple things here. I made a model that looked like this, but then I didn't put a gate on it. And I made a model that looked like that, and I put a gate on it, but then I made a runner that was too small. And then I made a runner that was like this, but then I couldn't line it up because there was no pin. And then I cast this thing last night, and it would have been beautiful. It would have put you all to shame, but it didn't work. So today, we are going to try this guy, because it's got a little alignment pin, and this same, nope, this one. And we're going to see if we can get it ramped up. Now, it is going to be a bit of a chore because I'm trying to cast this in the cope. I'm going to try to cast it the upper half of the mold. And that presents some problems for me as far as getting things rammed up. I'm going to just go ahead and fast forward through it all so you can watch, but just know that it's hard. It's hard. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to stop it right here. And we're just going to chat for a second, and I'm going to talk to you about some things that are going on. Now, first of all, if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you know that I don't normally do voiceovers. I normally just kind of babble on while we're doing stuff. While I was doing this, you'll notice occasionally some feet that come walking by, and a third hand that might stick its hand in there. And that was my father-in-law. He was there in the garage with me when I did this, and we were talking. And it wasn't a good time for me to be doing audio. So we're going to do voiceover here. Now, what you see in here, while I've got it stopped, is kind of the way I laid out the parts in here. And you'll see in the bottom there, I've got my pattern, and there is a gate coming off the side of it. You'll also see that I've got just kind of stuck in there what is going to be the upper part of a surge trap, that kind of pinkish colored cone shaped thing at the bottom of the frame. That's going to be my surge trap. Now, one of the problems I had with this is getting this thing lined up the way it needed to be lined up. And I did my best for some things, and it just didn't quite work out. I'll highlight a spot here where the surge trap didn't line up the way it needed to, and I had to move it in the mold. So you've all seen filling a mold, so I'm going to go ahead and probably chop out quite a bit of this, and just for the sake of brevity and because I don't have anything to say in between, so I'm just going to stop talking until I get to something interesting. So one of the things I did here, and I forgot to mention it, I went ahead and rammed up my cope first, then as the top part of the mold. And you'll notice that the pattern was actually in the cope, it was in the upper half of the mold. So I'm doing all this stuff here, and I have not rammed up the flask yet, or the drag yet, and I haven't got the bottom of this thing ready. There we go, we got the part upside down. I'm just cleaning things off. There was a lump of sand across that stripe that you saw that because of some tape that I had put over a slot that I had cut in that board. So we're just cleaning it up. I'm cleaning up the edges around the part because the part is completely in the cope. I needed half of it exposed, so when I ram up the drag, it'll separate out just like you would do any two-part mold, except I put it all up into the cope. Now, here's the problem I have right there. I'm going to stop that and show you. The problem is the surge trap moved on me. It probably while I was ramming the sand and I was forcing it in there, it probably scooted it off to one side. And I had a little pin on the runner and the pattern for the bottom of the surge trap, so I could put that pin in where the sprue came through, and I was hoping I would just be able to line things up. Well, it didn't, and what you see me doing a couple times here will be this. I put it on there. I noticed it's not parallel to the part or perpendicular to the runner, so I keep cutting it over further and further until I finally get it to where I want it. Then I'm going to have to ram sand back in to backfill that surge trap, that conical shaped thing that I've got down there. This is what I'm doing here, is I'm just kind of backfilling it, ramming it in. So this, I did this, I'm sure I did this much, much, much harder than I needed to, but for the life of me, I couldn't figure out how I really should have done this. I think what I really should have done is I should have cut a board that would have held that runner and that surge trap pattern in the board. I could have put it all together, rammed up the cope, turned it over, taken it apart, and then the pieces would have been where they needed to be, and then I could have just rammed up the drag on top of that. But I didn't want, it's one of those deals where I didn't want to take up the time to do it. I was lazy, thinking, well, I'll just do it this way. So what I always did is I took 5 minutes work and probably turned it into 45 minutes worth of work. Laziness always saves time. All right, so now we got everything cleaned up. The other thing that I had trouble with is I didn't put any way of grabbing the pattern out of here. You see, I got some of the stuff out with a pair of tweezers, but now I got the most important part, and I'm standing here struggling, trying to figure out how in the world am I going to get that thing out of there. I finally just grabbed it and pulled it out, and it came out. It actually came out really clean, but through no fault of mine. I'll tell you what. If there was a harder way of doing this, I couldn't figure out how to do it. I did it as hard as I could possibly do it. All right, I got it out of there. Here's something else you're going to notice here in just a second. I'm going to do a couple of trial closes. I'm going to put the cope onto the drag, and you're going to notice that it ends up kind of like snapping down on one side, and that's because the pins that I have on my flask, one of them came undone. They're welded in there, just tack welded in. And I went ahead and put it back in. I closed the flask up. I put the pin in there. I welded it up. I thought it was going to come out another nice and clean and easy. Well, it didn't. In fact, here you see I get one side in, and then it just kind of sits there, and I have to snap it down like right here. Boom. No good. No good. No good. Because now it won't come apart. And now I'm sitting here with I have to find a screwdriver up there just on the floor behind me. I had to find a screwdriver to pry open one side. Had this been a part with any size at all to it, or there might have been a core or something in there, I'd have been in a world of hurt here, because I was moving that cope around all over the place. It's just not the way you want to do it. So I'm going to have to come up with a fix for this. I keep thinking I'm going to go ahead and design a new box to use and just do that. All right, here's the pour. You notice there's 3 holes on one side. That's because I had to move that dumb surge trap over, and I had a fake hole there kind of thing. Pour went really well. It came up through all of both vents and up through the surge trap, so pretty happy with that. And actually the surge trap, you'll see here in just a second, actually worked out pretty well too. All right, the moment of truth here is always, did it work or not? And we're going to find out, and I think it does, because here we go. Look at that. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It filled perfectly. I'm going to show you here in just a second, but I'll tell you what, the finish on this thing was perfect. Great. I didn't have a ton of flash. I had to clean it. It really came out of there really clean. So I'm about ready to start talking again, so it may be a lot louder. I don't know, but here you go. All righty, well, we are out of the mold, and I couldn't be happier. Let me, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. I'm going to try to get in real close, put my hand behind it, put my hand up here, whatever. But look at the finish on that loop. That is remarkable. I am thrilled with that. The rest of the casting looks great, even where I screwed up and had to move the surge trap around. We still got it in there, and I think it worked. I hope it worked. Everything looks great. So now my next step is going to be to cut this all apart. All right, there it is. There's the first step, second step, third step, whatever it is. Got the edges all polished up. Got to cut me some walnut. gotta get it epoxied on. Those are the next steps. All right, well, I'm not sure what goes before a fall. Pride? What comes after pride? Pride goeth before a fall. I got my walnut grips. I've got them epoxied on there. Put some blue painter's tape on just to try to keep the epoxy off of the bronze. And dang, it looks good so far. Got some epoxy on it, but that'll come off, I hope. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I hope it doesn't come off. My handles will fall off. I got to get these shaped. I'm going to take them over and I'm just going to rasp them and sand them, and I think we'll be good. I'll put some shiny, clear, shiny stuff on them, like varnish, and we'll be there. So let's, yeah, we'll go over and do this. All right, you get the idea. All right, a little trick. You can see that I've got the blue tape, but I've a couple of places I've nicked it with the rasp. That tells me I'm close enough. Don't go any closer. I got one side shaped. I still got to do this side, and then I got to do contours. But little trick that you might, if you didn't already know that, now you know. Use the tape as a depth gauge. Alrighty, well, I got the bulk of the material moved from with just a big coarse heavy rasp, and we're going to finish up the rest. I still probably think I need to take some thickness out of here. Feels good for my big old ape hands, but I don't know. Some of you with like Australian girly hands. Australian girly hands. You might find it hard. It might be too big. I mean, I'm going to just, this is what I'm going to use now. So we're just going to knock it out, get it cleaned up. Here it is. Let's see if we can, there you go. It's got the bronze, got a walnut grip on it. Cast out real nice. Let's, I'll show you up close. Maybe I can show you up close. Let's see. Looks like it's focusing. There it is. And I will tell you what, I had a hoot making this. This was a ton of fun. And I think the most fun I had was talking to people that were making their own and just having fun with it as well. And I can't wait. Today's Tuesday. I can't wait till Friday to see what everybody else has come up with. I am so excited. I'm hearing about people all the time that are coming out with one. So that is so cool. What do you think? Elixir of life. Yeah, there's something written on the back of this bottle, though. What's that say? All right, here we go. Oh, I'm so nervous. I hope the thing doesn't break on me. What if it does? What if it does? Let's see. I'll go this way for you. Oh, it worked. You guys have a great day.